down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Bing, bang, bang, boom. What up? This is your boy, Van Kallenberg. You've tuned in to the Savvy Radio Show. Mad love to David Singh in Facebook world that sent this question in just the other day. So I'm excited. I need to drop it real fast for you. The question is how to calculate the price and when is it a good buy or when do I walk away? Well, the good price is cheap as possible. That's a quick answer. And when is a good buy or walk away? Now, this is going to go all over the place. Of course, the first thing that popped in my mind, it depends on you, your goals. Deals for me may not be deals for you. So you got to find out what your niche is. You got to find out what your goal is. You got to find out what you want to do, what's your time commitment, and all that fun stuff. But that's kind of a elusive answer. But I know, folks, you want concrete answers. You just want me to tell you how to do it. Well, I'm going to give you all kinds of perspectives. Hopefully I don't blow you away with this. But number one, as a real estate investor, you need to buy property at discount prices. Bing. You buy low, you sell high. Technically, we're not selling anything. We want to hold everything. But you want to stay within the 70 to 75 ARV percentage. So if it's a $100,000 house, your offer needs to be, or your locked up price, or what your all-in price is, however you want to articulate it, needs to be 75%, I believe. Okay. So why is that? Well, if you bought a $100,000 house, you can easily get it financed pretty much anywhere in the world, with private money, hard money, bank money, commercial money, you can get it funded, usually 75% or below. A lot of banks, bigger banks will do 80%. Again, you've heard other podcasts. It depends on, do they do contract price or ARV? So what you need to do is factor in, if it's worth $100,000, and you got to have an exit strategy. That's the first thing that you got to consider. What's my exit strategy? And you have to realize that if you need to sell this as a fire sale, you need to add in commission. So just straight out the gate, a $100,000 house minus 6% for real estate commission fees. So let's just do the math. That brings it down to $94,000. And then you need a discount on that. You need to add profit for your time. So how do you calculate price? Well, the first thing you do, you got to have a sense of what it's actually worth. And you can do that by pulling comps. You can do in Oklahoma City and the county assessor. You can do subdivision sales. And again, there's so many variables to just saying that one comment. When did the sales happen? Are they comparable, meaning 3-bedroom and you're buying a 2-bedroom? Are they identical? And then you got to look at how fast they're sold. Like, we have an Air Force base in town. And when I look at property near that area, there's like 10 or 15 transactions in a whole year. That's pretty powerful in a one subdivision area. But then in another neighborhood, like a very popular neighborhood or a high-end neighborhood, popular meaning that people are trying to get into that neighborhood, there may be only 1 or 3 or 5 for the year. And so these are all variables that you need to consider. So you really have to zone in on what is it worth. So let's just say it's worth $100,000. Then you have to take in the variability of, and this is how I do it, structure, location, and cash flow. So let me write this down. You got cash flow, and you can use this in anywhere you want in any order. There's no specific order, and location. Well, if you're rookie real estate, you probably heard location, location, location. Yes. I will pay more for a property that's in a better location, but my cash flow will go down. And then I work on the structure. So these are the 3 main points that I look at when buying a property, period. Now, of course, I'm a little bit older. I have staff. So I have to look at, is this going to be hard to manage? Is this a problem that's going to be reoccurring? these are scenarios where, is this area up on the upswing or on the downswing? But let's just do the basics that I do on every property. If it is a cash flowing machine, and that's usually low income, I'm not really concerned on the location. But I know if I buy that property, I'm only buying cash flow. I'm not buying any equity or forced equity or a payday later. A lot of investors come in thinking that they're going to buy a property assuming that it's going to appreciate. In my world, or whatever you want to call it, appreciation, forced appreciation, I don't bet on that. I am a real estate investor that must make money. Yep, that's what I do on every transaction, on every purchase or asset, whatever you want to call it. That's the game. It makes money. So you don't buy stocks to be cool, right? If that's what you do, you don't have a 401k just because everyone else does. You probably do, and you're not working it properly, but you putting this money away, yes, as a savings, but you want a return on your investment. Well, that's what you're doing as a real estate investor. You've got to get a return on your investment, or you're wasting time, your own time, and you're not using money because it devalues with inflation. So if you stuck $1,000 in the bank today, 30 years from now, that $1,000 ain't going to be worth $1,000. It's going to be worth $600 because of just the devalue of the dollar, and inflation just continues to go up. So this is not the podcast for that. So you need to think about it. So cash flow is my main thing. If you're starting out, you may want to, if you're a rookie, equity may be your main goal in buying property. Well, why would you want equity? Because if you have equity built up in your portfolio, you can borrow against that equity. You can actually use that equity to purchase more properties. So let me give you an example. Let's just say we bought 10 houses that are worth $100,000. That's $1 million. Okay. You bought them, all 10 houses, for 75% ARV. That's $750,000. And you leverage that with a bank. So you're in debt, $750,000. Okay. Well, that leaves how much? $250,000 of equity sitting there that you can borrow against, or you may refinance with a bank and get 80%. If you got 80% on that money, the total of $1 million would be $800,000. You would get an extra $50,000 for free per se, and you can take that $50,000 and go buy a property debt free. That's one technique. So in the beginning, you want to build your portfolio. You may really be heavy on buying a property that has equity in it. Like, so for example, $100,000 house, you get a smoking deal. It's worth $50,000. You just created $50,000 of fake equity, what I call it, or equity that you could borrow against, use, leveraged, whatnot, and it makes you more bankable, borrowable. Now, in the beginning, that's how I started. I bought properties at discounts, negotiated them down, and some of them were in the hood, some of them were not, whatever, wherever, and I built a portfolio. Well, about 5 years ago, I really wanted to grow my business to the next level. And what is the next level? But let's just say I want to just start making more cash flow. Equity is not making you money. It's just sitting there. So I bought a lot of low income properties. Yes, it's a lot more management intensive, and they're not worth is what you buy them for usually, but they bring in a lot of cash flow. So if I took those 10 houses and I bought them at $30,000 a piece, but they're only worth $30,000, but they bring in $600 a month, and I'm netting $200 a month. And let's just say, just keep it all easy, 1% loan cost. How much am I making? $200, $400, $300 a month times 10 is $2,000, $3,000. It's pretty easy to manage 10 people for $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. So that may be your plan. So, for example, I would not today, I would walk away from a labor-intensive, low-income property because I don't need the cash flow because I'm okay for the moment. but I would lean more towards an equity build because maybe I'm looking for an office building and I need that equity for my portfolio to buy that. So there's no random way. What's a good buy? How do I walk away? I know this is not answering your question specific, David, but you should always try to buy property at 70%. That's what you should be shooting for. Now, have I bought property at 80%? Sure. But it was a home run, okay? And it rents like clockwork and it's easy. So let's get back to my little simple formula. And I've created this myself. I don't know if there's credit. If anybody has credit for this, much love. But I look at these three things on every transaction. 1, what's my cash flow? 2, what's the structure? And the structure is like, is it brick? Is it frame? Is it a slab? And do I need to give it TLC? How often? AKA maintenance. And then location is important. I think a lot of real estate, especially realtors, get their license and they beat you in the head with location, location, location. Well, I've learned now almost 20 years in real estate investing, location is not my top priority. Of course, we all jump for better location properties. And right now, let's say that's Northwest Oklahoma City off of Classen. Oh, wow. From 50th all the way down to First Street. Anything you buy off of Classen, you should yield well, right? But everyone else is buying those properties. Now, if I get one of those in my scope, I may jump on it, but you're going to pay more for better located properties. So your cash flow is going to go down. So a home run would be 70% brick home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You're buying it, it's worth $100. You're buying it for $70, and it's right across the street from the school. That is what a good buy is. Now, you can create good buys by you buy it right at 70 cents on the dollar, 60 cents percentage, and you fix it up and do major repairs. And remember the word repairs, not capital improvement. And that creates a good buy. And you can do that creatively with certain real estate banks. And I talked about banks a while back, but Sooner State Bank, also I think First United Bank and these are local banks, sorry folks, First Security Bank, that you can do 2 loans. You can do an acquisition loan. You may have to put something down, but then they'll turn around and give you a draw loan on that property. So you fix it up and then they put it on permanent finance. So you can create a good buy just by knowing what you're doing. So hopefully I've answered that question. But again, it depends on your goals. What I was before when I started the game, I would buy anything and everywhere. Now I stick within a 15 to 20 minute drive maximum. I don't really buy anything that's in Moore, which is about 30 minutes from me. I for sure don't buy anything in Norman, which is too much traffic and down. I don't buy anything in Edmond because the margins are so small, and if one heat and air system goes out, there's my whole profit. Well, what do you mean? Let me break that down for you a little bit harder. So I bought a property on the northwest side, paid too much for it. Welcome to the club. I'm in it. And I'm barely cash flowing, and I just wanted to buy a property, and I bought a property. I trusted this realtor. They're like, this is a turnkey operation. Long story short, I was only making $25 a month, and I was like, oh, man. Well, didn't even have central heat and air. That's another sign. And when the tenant plugged in the window unit, it blew up. Now, this window unit was plugged into the wrong outlet. Should have been a higher 220 volts or whatever. It was a heat and air unit, and it was a $600 repair. I had to rip that damn thing out and put a brand new one in there. $600. How many months did it take for me to get that $600 back? So you've got to watch what you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal. Now, here's a great thing. You should never really lose in real estate if you just buy it within reason. Now, that property, my mentor, I've been complaining. I've owned that property for 10 years. complaining about that property for 10 years. I'm not making money. I'm only cash flowing 25. And then the window unit goes back. I've tried to calculate 1 year's $300. So it took me 2 years of free labor. Now, my mentor, savvy guy, said, Van Kellenberg, you're making money. No, I'm not, buddy. I'm not making money. I'm cash flowing 25 and I got to pay for this window unit. He's like, dummy, you're making money. How am I making money? He's like, well, number one, depreciation. Ooh, what's depreciation? Didn't know. Depreciation is that the government, which is a good thing to some people, is that they pay you get to write off a certain value of your home for a length of time, because the government knows this thing called wear and tear, and they give you a credit or actual cash value, real money at the end of the year. So let's just say on an average, a unit, a full house, you probably average about $1,500. Let's just say $2,000 a month in depreciation that you write off against your W-2 if you have a job, or against your wife's W-2. So $2,000, $180 a month, or somewhere around there, is free money that you're getting from the government, aka tax shelter, whatever you want to call it. Oh, but I don't see that money, mentor. You're making money. When you have 10 of them, how much is that? Okay, 20, 50. Dude, depreciation. I gotta pause, okay? Because I just now figured it out. Not just now, but think about it. Now, how else are you making money? He slapped me again. They're paying down your equity. They're giving you equity. They're paying down your mortgage. You're not doing anything and you're making money. And I'm like, but I'm working. They're calling me. They're asking me questions. I got problems. They don't, blah, blah, blah. I'm not making 25. But just the other day, I refinanced that bad boy, and I've got to pull out, I can't remember, about $10,000, maybe $20,000 worth of equity. I know one thing for sure. I got all my initial costs on when I bought that property 10 years ago. I was dumb. I put 7 G's in it. Now, 10 years later, I got pull out 20. I got my 7 G's back, and I got 13 G's left over from a refinance. Now, it resets the clock, okay, all you debt-free folks, but we're not doing real estate for debt-free. We're doing real estate for cash flow. Now I got that 13 G's. Guess what I do? I buy another house. And so that's how you calculate a price. What's it worth to you? I will pay more money for a property that I have to do less headache with. That would be structure. For sure, location, better location, I don't have to worry about it. Cash flow, yes, is my main goal, but I may take less cash flow with less headache. But if I wanted to build my business harder, and you're young and you're driven, you can be old and driven, not necessarily young, you may stick with lower, middle class, blue collar, little below blue collar properties, and you should do it. So another question that I get a lot is what should I pay? Like, what's a good number? Well, let me give you some scenarios. $50,000, the acquisition cost should yield you $800. $750 is a good number. You should do it on, you could do it 1% or 1.5%. You hear people talk about that. What's that mean? Well, if you got $50,000 in the transaction, the minimum for me for my blood to flow, I got to make 500. That just covers your cost. Now, there's some property that you just covers your cost, and you may be in California and it's going to explode, and that, that $500,000 house turns into $1 million. You stick with that 1%. Now, in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, I mean, pretty much everywhere in the country except for the major metropolitans like Dallas area, deep, LA, you're not going to get more than 1%. You actually get negative cash flow, but you should shoot for 1.5% of the acquisition. So if it is if it's a $50,000 house, okay, you want to make $750, $800. That's a great buy. If you're buying a $100,000 house, for sure, the minimum in my world has got to be $1,100. I really want 15, but I'll take 13. I'll make $200 a month because I'm building equity faster, okay, which I can refinance more. And you probably should have bought it at a deal which would give you bigger or larger equity. You could borrow more of that later. Hopefully this makes sense to you. I know there were some rabbits in there, but I do appreciate you folks emailing, encouraging, and giving me some questions so I can get you to the point where you need to be. Anyway, my name is Steven Van Kalmberg. Bing, bang, boom, boom. You listen to the Savvy Radio Show, 20 minutes. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.